Well, good morning, GM updates from the labs listeners. I'm Kevin Dizzle. I'm here with Sunny Dynamic, and today we're going to have a very special guest, Ethan Frey of Confio and the inventor of CosmWasm. So buckle up. We'll be starting shortly.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Eddie.
How you doing?
So far, so good. I'm thinking about eating a donut already, which is usually I try to reserve those thoughts for after updates. But other than that, I'm doing great.
Nice.
Um,
I got served this morning when I woke up because I missed jury duty.
oh, snap.
I didn't know they served you for that.
Really? So somebody showed up and served you like jury duty papers?
My dog woke me up. The sheriff was there. He was like, "Hey, missed jury duty. Sorry to wake you, bud." And then gave me a piece of paper. Told me to show up to court.
Wow, man. That's dramatic. I guess I'm sorry to hear it, but also, we do need people like you on juries.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, that's my answer at the end of the day when I'm like flustered by, because they don't do that in New York City. They don't have enough people, I think, to knock on enough doors. But like, I don't even think we have a sheriff in New York City, although that would be a very interesting job. But at least back in pre-pandemic times, I'll be like, I'll get my jury duty thing. I'd be like, oh gosh, I've got all these work obligations, but it would suck if I was on a trial and the only people who were there were people who, like, I don't know, don't care.
Yeah, I do worry about that.
Like, you want a jury of your peers. You don't want a jury of like just everybody who was sitting around and had literally nothing better to do.
Yeah. Is this Ethan here, the real requesting?
Oh, that would be awesome if we do have the real.
That is him.
Oh, sweet. Okay, great. Welcome, Ethan. I think, we're usually going to do the internal osmosis-based updates first, and then we dive into CosmWasm, but depending on what... Yeah, okay. Shall we? Hey, Sonny, how's it going?
Good. How are you guys?
Ducking and diving.
Yeah. Yeah. Things are going pretty well here. We are, making progress on all the different fronts. I'm trying to pull up I usually just pull up the agenda from our all hands that we have the day before on Tuesdays. So
pulling back the curtain.
Let me see. Yeah, so there's a lot of
Hey, Sonny, I'm hearing like an echo in the background. Like, do you have another phone on?
Yes, I do. That's
maybe
really annoying.
Turn the volume down. Or...
Problem is Twitter Spaces doesn't let you turn off the volume, so I just have to kind of bury it under a bunch of things.
put the updates pillow on top of it.
Yeah, hopefully that's a bit better.
Yes, it is. Okay, sorry to interrupt you. Go for it.
Yeah. So let's see. So on the chain development side, we got a bunch of things are landing pretty well. The superfluid stuff, the testing and simulations are coming along pretty well. I think that's we still seem to be on track timing wise for that. We are we were thinking about putting a chain upgrade just with some of the MetaMask features, but I think we decided to delay that just because coordinating chain upgrades takes time, and it'll probably take cut off a week, or it'll probably end up realistically taking up a week of people's time, and so we said, okay, let's just plan for having one like sort of mega upgrade sometime at the near the end of mid-February, where we can just get out CosmWasm and the MetaMask stuff and a bunch of features all at once, rather than like break it up into a couple tiny upgrades. So yeah, so that's sort of the main thing. And then I guess there's been a lot of testing on the F1 fee distribution, which is it's like fixing the fact that epochs take forever. So epochs take forever because to distribute rewards to people, it kind of like splits it. It iterates over every single person who has like locked who every single bonded LP in this system every day, and that's why like epochs take so long. And so we actually have the F1 model actually fixes it so it becomes more like the staking rewards, where you have to go manually claim the rewards. They don't just get deposited into your account, but that allows us to actually fix the how long the epochs take. So that the testing for that's going on pretty well. We're not sure if that will land in the next upgrade or the following one, just because there's a lot of like testing needed for it, and the epochs have actually been getting much better, just because of a combination of like a lot of the work that the validators have been doing. So like the couple Jacob from Notional and Joe Abbey from Anchorage, they've been doing a really good job at like sort of figuring out some analytics around like validator performance and stuff, and so that's kind of like pressured a lot of validators to improve their setups, and that sort of helped improve the epoch time massively. And then on top of that, just as I mentioned last week, we've just been working on some like performance things in the Cosmos SDK, and just fixing those has like sped up the epoch time but massively. Although I will say, I think that last week I said it got 30,000 times faster. It turns out that was a bug in the way we were measuring the timing. It was in the so in the profiler it didn't count for things. The profiler was not counting things that were shorter than like something. So it did not get 30,000 times faster, but it still got like about 30 times faster, which is it's not quite the same magnitude, multiple but it's at least one magnitude of improvement, which is
Hey,
pretty good.
30x is big in crypto.
Yeah.
30x is big gains.
Yeah. So things are getting better there. And I guess the other reason why we might delay the F1 into the following upgrade is just a lot of integration work, because a lot of people need to all the front ends that are like involved with Osmosis need to update to deal with it. So that includes our front end, but also like MintScan would need to do it, the Cosmos Station wallet, Citadel One, Ping.pub, the info site. There's all these like different front ends that have integrated it and probably integrated the current version, and so we just need to work with communicate with them so we can coordinate the upgrade to the F1 system. So that's
Hey,
basically.
Sonny, may I ask you what did the F1 name come from? Is that just like fees?
No, it literally came from it was when we were designing a way of distributing staking rewards, like back at the beginning of like when we were like building the Cosmos SDK. We had two models. There was called like the I don't know. It was like called the Volkswagen model versus the Lamborghini model, because I forgot what the smaller, the easier one was called. It was like there was these two models and there was like, all right, this one is like really expensive to do, but like it'll be like really it'll take a lot of time to like implement it, but it'll be like really fast. And then the other one was like, okay, this is be more simple, but it'll be like more reliable, and we were not because and then Dave came up with a third model, which kind of actually solved the issues of the Lamborghini one. So that became called the F1 model, and that name.
Gotcha.
I just realized that to me it's like that's such an that name has I've just been using it for like what 4 years now, and so it's just like just call the F1 model. But now that you mention it, you're right. That is such a weird name for like a technical component of the stack. But yeah, that's the history of it.
Got it. Yeah, because I was like, it did remind me of Formula One racing, but now that you described the Volvo versus Lambo versus F1, it I don't know. It makes more sense to me.
Yeah, it's one of those like weird path dependency names. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so let's see. Other stuff going on. The gravity. I just got a link to like the staging front end of the gravity bridge. Last night.
Ooh.
So, and they said that should be going live tomorrow or today, I guess. So that should be cool. So we can hopefully
Nice.
have the ETH assets coming over pretty soon. I did see that on the front end though, it does at the moment support deposits, but with withdrawals, it doesn't support it on the front end yet. You'd have to use the CLI, which is like it's very beta right now. So we have to see how do we want to show that in the front end, and make sure people don't deposit without realizing that they're not going to be able that it'll be a pain to withdraw. So maybe we don't integrate it into the front end until that's fixed, or so that's something we're trying to figure out.
Maybe I could see people panicking and being like, "There's no withdraw button."
Yeah. So we I guess their front end should be out soon, so people can check it out and see. We can decide probably in a couple days.
Awesome. That's exciting.
Then what else? Another thing that we've been working on a lot on is like on the refactor that a lot of the design stuff is getting pretty finalized. So on the pools page, things the whole cards layout, which looked cool for like the first 20 pools, but is just unmanageable for like as we're in the hundreds. So it's gonna be switching to like a list format with like a search bar, and it'll just be a lot better there. And then also hopefully we'll be able to improve the pool routing system, because the current router in the front end is not the best. And so if you're ever doing a swap, you always have to like sort of be careful. Uh, Especially if you're doing a very large swap, we suggest using the swap functionality on the pools page. Like, you go to each pool specifically and do it, just because sometimes the router will will send you down a route that is not the best pricing. So especially if you're just doing large trades, just be a little bit careful there until we get a chance to improve that.
Wait, Sonny, hold on a second. What do you mean by that in the terms of the pool router? Like large trades in terms of just like regular swaps when you go to the trade, I guess widget, or like when you're swapping within a pool, or
So what I mean by that is, okay, so the pool router right now, it actually is not taking into account the pricing. It's not sending you down the best price. It's sending you down or it kind of is, but it's also looking at it's not looking at the slippage properly, and it's looking at the price and the number of hops necessary. And so there was an issue that we were having where if people were swapping UST to Atom, the best route was to go UST Osmo Atom, but the there is a Juno UST pool right now, and so it would sometimes it would send people down depending on what the price set on the Juno UST pool versus what the Osmo price, it could sometimes send people down the UST to Juno to Atom pool, and that would actually give people like worse slippage than if they had gone the Osmo. And
Oh,
so
gotcha.
our front end router doesn't like handle that very well. So, I think one of the things that we're going to be doing is like putting up a grant to, with the grant program that's going to be launching pretty soon, hopefully get a grant up for like, maybe someone creating a proper routing engine that, can be served over an API. So like our front end can use it, but also other front ends can also take advantage of it as well.
That would be cool. So I just out of curiosity, when you say watch the routing, if I were to go to the UST Atom pool and do a token swap there, it's not going to route through the bigger slippage, correct? Okay.
Well, so no, there is no UST Atom pool. So what I mean is that
whoops. Okay.
Yeah.
I
So
thought there
if
was.
you, for example,
Gotcha.
like if you're doing a very big swap, you probably want to go check.
Just
like,
go to Osmo.
Go to the UST Osmo pool. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's say you're deciding between two routes, right? And you're doing a very
Uh-huh.
big swap. You should probably go to the pool and check how much liquidity is in each pool, and go down the one that has lower slippage.
Right. More liquidity, lower slippage is going to be the path of least resistance.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I hope everybody got that. If you didn't, message us afterwards or message me. Thank you.
Yeah, message the community support team.
Don't message me personally. Message Osmo support DAO at Twitter, or the admins or community support team, and they will be able to sort that.
Yeah. So I think that's sort of the biggest updates that we have right now. I think last week we had just like a series of updates, and today are a little bit maybe more marginal ones where we're just things are moving forward on a bunch of those things.
I mean, there was so much last week that I was kind of, this is like sophomore album syndrome. You guys just you blasted out so much stuff. I mean, it's almost like how do you follow up? The beginning of testing for superfluid staking. Like there was just a lot. So, and then we have Ethan.
Mm-hmm.
Did I just hear someone audibly yawn?
But that was probably me. I'm in Berkeley for the next month, and the West Coast time zones do not agree with me.
Oh, dude, understood. Oh my gosh, so it's like 7 a.m. for you, dude. I'm sorry, man. All right, I just heard. Is that Ethan? Are you here, bro?
Yeah, I'm here. I think so. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, we hear you. Sonny, can we transition over to talking to Ethan and of Confiotech?
Yeah.
Let's do it, man. Welcome, Ethan. Good to hear you again.
Yeah, you too, man. This was a journey to get Twitter. I never had Twitter before. I don't know what's going on here.
Welcome to the limbo.
Yeah, well, I don't know. So I never had Twitter or nothing here. And so last time I was just watching on my browser. I was using CosmWasm account in my browser.
Gotcha.
And like I could get on and talk to you guys. I was like, dude, how do I talk? I can't request a talk. And somehow Sonny's like, dude, you need an app. I'm like, app? What app? So yeah, finally he convinced me to install Twitter on my phone while he's talking and messaging me. I install it on my phone and it won't let me install them. It my phone refused to install them. I'm like, screw this. So I actually went and got a little phone here. It's a little red phone with a big rage button. It says rage tweet on it. And I installed Twitter on
bro.
it.
Well,
just shit. Let's talk shit now.
You're away from fully plugged.
Just for shit talking.
Okay, yeah, you're fully plugged in. If your phone has a rage tweet button, you're full Reddit, right? I mean, I'm sorry, you're full Twitter right now. Rage
Twitter app, Twitter rage tweet app I installed. It's nice.
Okay, wait, is that really an app?
No. Give me.
I think there's a lot of money in that rage tweet. I think. All right, I'll stop talking. Welcome.
I've been engaging in some rage tweeting a lot of yesterday, so yeah.
Yeah, my apologies to the Cosmos community for trying to change. I don't know, spitballing about the names of the various products. No harm intended.
Fair enough. I think idea is cool. Everyone throws ideas out there. I think there's a difference of how you say it and how people take it. You know, if you're just throwing ideas out, the spitballing, brainstorming, people take it like, you know, giving directions. That's a problem, I think, you know. So to say, hey, top of my head idea. I don't know if there's any difference in Twitter between like, you know, saying this is the way the company should go and
Right.
are declaring war on your country versus like, hey, last night a crazy idea in the shower. Like, what the fuck, you know?
Yeah, I feel like it's also kind of like when you're hanging out with your friends and they give you a nickname. Like it can go one of two ways. You know, like it can be a cool nickname or it can be one that you're like, fuck no, I will not be called that for the rest of my life. So I think people get sensitive about that. I mean, obviously these product names and the fact that they're ostensibly community owned, you know, egalitarian products, like everybody has a feeling of ownership, and some people are like, no, I will not be called that, and it's a personal affront sort of thing. So I do think that there's many ways forward, and I'm not worried about it. But anyway, I'm with you about the spitballing.
In Solana, you know, like little P or something. And
wait, I'm sorry. What did you say? You got cut off. What did you say about?
If you're making nicknames people don't like, then let's pick out Polkadot, Solana, stuff like that. Avalanche.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
Little P's trying to get the big Cosmos, you know, can't even hang with us. Get, you know, Gavin Wood all pissed off at little P. Polkadot.
Yep, little P.
Yeah, I can't hang with the big guys. So, but yeah, no, I've been thinking about this a lot actually, and getting more. Someone's talking about Cosmos and talking about all the things you can do. Like they don't know the chain ecosystem. It's actually amazing though, right? Like, so we have this thing. The ecosystem is huge, right? Like, if you think about it, you're like, oh, do you want, you know, a DEX? Oh, we have 3 of those. Do you want a bridge to Ethereum? Okay, we have 4. Oracles? Yeah, sure, we have a couple, right? Do you want AI? Sure, we have Cyber Congress. Do you want private smart contracts? Zero knowledge, whatever, you know, like we have Secret. Do you want environmental protection? We have Regen. Do you want, you know, a social network, Desmos, just pulling out, and people don't even realize that. It's like on and on, right? Like there's so many different projects out there, and they've been going around for a year, 2 years, have validator sets, not fly by night little projects. They're really big projects with their own roadmaps and validators, and it makes this giant mesh, the whole map of zones, you know, I show to people and blow their heads. I think it's like, there's so much going on that, yeah, people get disoriented. And so maybe we need naming, but maybe we just don't need naming. We just need a narrative. We just need a whole narrative explaining that, you know, Cosmos is huge. It's 30 teams with mainnets connect to each other, plus like another 20 in the works, right? And projects building on other projects. And it's this huge, huge sea with no real leader. There's no one thought leader. No one can direct this anymore. It's God of control. You know, we're like somewhere between like Bitcoin and Ethereum in terms of decentralization. I think that's the best thing that happened. The whole meltdown on Tendermint, like Jay and Ethan, all the drama and Zaki and all that stuff, like it shot it. By the end, you say, hey, there's not one central figure. No one can direct Cosmos. They try. No one can. It's like herding cats. You can't do it. You can't herd them. So it's like everyone's just doing their own thing, and they're all somehow working together. And I think it's amazing. And like, you know, it's really, just sprouting up this year. So it's really cool. And if that narrative can get out, and that narrative that, you know, hey, we are decentralized, we have a million things going on, they're all not really coordinated very well, and they're all kind of working together somehow. And this is the Cosmos.
Maxi.
Yeah,
IBC,
totally, dude.
baby.
I got sold in 2016, and I'm so happy to see it live. I just want to have it take off this year. I'm 100% IBC Maxi. I don't care what chain wins, IBC.
Yeah, to me, that narrative is super, super strong. But I agree with you. There's so many ways to approach it. I mean, it's kind of insane that you can have an ecosystem that can be pitched as being successful in numerous ways. It doesn't even just have like that's like a great problem to have.
Totally.
So I watched your video about the power-ups offered by CosmWasm, and I just feel like you have so much potential wisdom and stuff to drop. I'm curious about Isotonic. I don't know. I want to just, can you just like, do you have some stuff you want to dive in on, or do you want to ask me to ask questions, or?
Yeah, let me give you a little update on what's going on, and then maybe you can ask questions, Sunny can jump in too. So we've done some work. We've taken the proposal. Thank you so much, guys, first of all, for this proposal. It's been great and really been, inspired us. It's like, wow, this is giving us straight direction. This is like our direction for at least H1 Q 2022. It's like full on, okay, focus on Osmosis, ship our stuff. We're doing T-grade launch, but that's kind of, Osmosis and everything you support Osmosis is really like becoming our goal, our focus, and discussion study is really, really good to have this. We're supporting other chains, we're doing things, but this is like the focus there. So we got this yesterday. I think the tweet should have come out today somewhere, I guess on Twitter somewhere. There's this Wasmd 022 came out, and that's really what we need for this. We got it's Cosmos SDK 045, which is really 44 plus bug fixes, and I pushed for that one because there are a few things in 44 that could cause trouble or DOS vectors with CosmWasm. So potentially like underbilling gas, let's say, right? So we got 45 out from SDK, official 45. We have Wasmd out now. That's using 45. We improved a few other things on it. We added a few simple features which we wanted for Osmosis. Things like sudo, which means governance, chain governance. We can make an entry point. A contract of an entry point said sudo, which means like, native Go code can call it only, right? And now chain governance call it. So you can have basically your config, rather than having like some address or some DAO, you could actually say this contract, the config of the contract and the admin account, the governance contract of the account is actually chain governance, which is, I think, a cool idea. You don't have to use it, but we open it up. So that was one of the things I want to get in this so we can start experimenting with that, especially, if ION stuff is coming out there. I'm not sure what else is going out on this stuff, but we can have contracts where chain governance actually is the admin, the gov contract of that contract. So yeah, that was pretty excited about getting that one in. Maybe no one else understands it yet, but that was asked for a bit, and I really see the potential in Osmosis permissioned smart contracts.
Ethan, hey Ethan, can you unpack that a little bit? You said something about IN. I got a little bit lost. Could you unpack like what?
So we're talking about building an ION DAO, right? So this is the reverse. The ION, they take your native token and make a DAO. There's talk about making a DAO that can vote and stuff, right? So using ION as to build a DAO on. I don't know if there's these out there. I've heard the idea. I'm not sure it's happening.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I thought you said IN, and I was like, what is that? It sounds like ION.
Let's build a CosmWasm DAO using the existing native token, right? And I'm saying you can do the reverse now. With 22, I pulled this in. I was working last Friday on it and Monday to finish it. But rather than adding CosmWasm governance to an existing native token, you can add native governance to existing CosmWasm contracts, right? So you know how there's Lido DAO has a staking contract, right? Or Anchor they have these gov contracts always, right? They control stuff. But instead of using those gov contracts, plug in and say, hey, we're gonna have no contract can do it, just the on-chain governance can do it instead.
Oh, okay.
So the normal common and existing voting, all the voting you do normally for all those things could theoretically control contracts if the contract sets it up that way. It can say, I'm exposing myself to be controlled by on-chain governance.
This is what I would call dumb contracts.
They're
not the right word, actually.
By delegating governance to basically making them more an extension of native code, right? The same way that on-chain governance controls the parameters of the AMMs.
Right.
On-chain you control parameters of other contracts if they choose to do that. So you can make them kind of native contracts in a way, more than dumb contracts.
Super smart contracts.
Yeah. Or Osmo contracts. I don't know. But yeah, I think it's an interesting idea that opens up potential. So depending what's going on there, I think that's a cool feature. But yeah, basically we got the main thing is we got basically compatibility with 45 out there. I got a PR on an old commit of that branch with 44 support that's working with Osmosis. So I have a branch of integrating CosmWasm Osmosis on an old commit that's working, and I'm waiting. I saw today there's some open PRs to get 45 support into Osmosis. So that should land, I guess. Somebody might tell me it looks like it's a day or two out. It looks pretty close.
Yeah, my code is ready for. So I wrote this over the weekend, and it should be ready to go. I'm just waiting for someone else to give me the approving review to merge it.
All right.
Nice.
Awesome. Can I give you that review? No. So no, I'm not rushing it. I'm not rushing it. That's awesome. I figured today, you guys. So tomorrow I could like rebase on that one and update to the latest, and we could, hopefully end of the week have latest Monday have a PR to put CosmWasm into Osmosis.
What?
So that's the basic CosmWasm. That's not doing all the special callbacks, but that's really like something you could actually be shipping out the next event. You could put in there.
All right, I just had it's not a shower thought, obviously, because I'm not showering, but maybe we could call it wise contracts.
Nice.
All right, I'll shut up.
Wise contracts.
But yeah, wise is cool. I like wise.
Yeah, I mean, it's involves the wisdom of the crowd, which is governance. I don't know, whatever. We're just having fun here.
So yeah, that could be cool. But yeah, you get these contracts out there, and that's ready basically. And that's the basic version. That's deliverable 1. It's basically ready. And I'm sitting there. We're sitting there. So we're working this deliverable 2, which is really out of the custom callbacks, right? It's deeper integration. It's letting stuff. It's working with some of the stuff it has. So like letting contracts query the TWAPs, the average price of the AMMs. Is letting them make swaps. Is letting them make bond tokens. Right? All that stuff exposed to contracts as first-class citizens. So they basically come in and they're able to do everything. They interact with anything you want to with AMM. And so I think the routing session you had earlier is very interesting because how to expose that to the contracts as well, right? They have to have on-chain somehow. So maybe you have to clear off-chain, tell them the route, or maybe they can figure it out on-chain. That'd be really awesome, actually, if they could somehow. I'm not sure that the deal is, but yeah, all that stuff there, basically, we're going to work this out. And now having it up there, we can start banging on it and trying to figure out how to best expose those APIs to contracts so we can have like superpowered contracts that are like AMM scripters. So like I'll throw one idea I had out there, just one simple idea. Like I'll let Sunny maybe introduce Isotonic after this, but here's the simplest idea, right?
Okay.
Like auto compounding, right? Like this is just a utility contract, not even anything really cool, but it's showing the interactions. Right now, there's stuff like these B-Luna staking stuff, everyone knows, right? Staking derivatives. And what you do is you put your tokens into it and it gives you a staking token and you can redeem it later, which is fine. You can trade it. The other thing it does, auto compounds basically. So like that contract, like every day it's pulling on the rewards and it's redepositing them, redelegating them, right? Or twice a day. They're doing a lot. They're doing it very often. And I started looking at this and I realized it's actually this huge amount, right? Like if you have 120% APR on your stake tokens, right? And so if you do it, I just ran the math yesterday. If you do that staking, you wait 1 year, you put 100 tokens in. 1 year later, you get 120 out as rewards. If you then at 6 month compound at 6 months, you get like 150 out. If you compound it every 3 months, you get like 180 out, right? And eventually, if you compound it every day, you're getting 240 out. So most people aren't with their ledgers like recompounding all the time their stuff, which but if you just made a contract, all it does is like it holds your tokens and anyone can trigger it with some permissionless account and it just auto compound your tokens. You can be, you get double interest basically, right? It's doing that for you. It gets like really increased interest. And the same thing with LP shares, right? So now imagine you have like your stake Osmo, you have 5 different LP positions all staked, right? Every day you're really going to go out there and use your ledger and sign all the transactions to withdraw stuff and redeposit it? Probably not. But
yeah, it can be. I'm in 16 pools right now.
Exactly. So if you did a contract for you, basically said the contract just holds it in your behalf, and everyone that's like on pool X, you just get your LPs and you stick in that contract. Say, hey, stake it on my behalf, right? And the contract gives it back to you when you want to. Same thing. It just stakes on your behalf, and all it does, it withdraws rewards and it redeposits them. Withdrawal and redeposits. Withdrawal redeposits, and you can have some stupid little anyone a permission list that you get the redeposit thing. Whoever pays the gas fee can do that, right? So you can make that one so you don't have to have your ledger do it. You have some account that, or any account can do it, right? Just some little script running on some node that just runs all the time, runs every 12 hours and redeposits it. because it just trigger a smart contract do it. Anyway, that's a little thing that can be done when you have this deeper knowledge. So we can start making this auto compounding as a contract, for example, right? And they can bake it in. They can do all that in there, especially as you're doing F1. You can't really go over and force auto compounding everywhere in F1 because you can't iterate over everyone all the time. You want to have it lazy. And rather than having all the epics, you can have everyone doing their little thing when they need to, right? They can do it and they want to.
That's a cool. It is a cool counterpoint to the slow epoch situations. I mean, obviously the infrastructure and the tooling that Sunny is talking about is extraordinarily helpful as well. But it's like, yeah, if we can kind of adapt our system so that also people aren't just. It is fun to show up on epoch. That's one thing I will say. Like, but like, it would be nice to be able to automate some of the stuff. I would like a balance. I don't know. Sunny, I'm curious to your thoughts.
Sorry, what was the question?
Oh, just like this notion of that we can build an auto compounder using using CosmWasm, which could be super rad to get, double your rewards by the end of a year. But like, also it is nice that we show up and we have a reason to show up for epoch. So it's like, I don't know. I'm just thinking like, can a balance be struck, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think like one of the bigger issues that we had with like people have been asking us to like build an auto compounder which like takes their Osmo rewards and like auto like adds them to pools, but that the awkward part about that is that also means auto selling of Osmo because most of the rewards right now are in Osmo, and if we help people automate that, that's sort of helping them automate selling half their Osmo rewards, which I don't know if what we want to do.
Right. But I mean,
especially for things that have external incentives, for example, I think like that, that could be something we can have. And also, it's sort of inevitable that people will build auto compounders. So
it's going to happen. But what about for staking though? It's not quite the same if it auto staked your rewards.
Yeah. So that's actually something we almost did actually at launch. We spent, or not launch, but like a couple months ago, we spent some time actually building it so your Osmo rewards would be automatically staked, and it was sort of not actually even like a a choice. Like we were gonna make it, we were gonna change it so like all Osmo rewards are auto staked, but we ended up not doing that. Just we focused in on other things instead. But yeah, so that's definitely an option.
I mean, what do you think? Like, okay, so here are the things I'm thinking about, like auto staking, or I'm tossing this at you, Ethan. Like, because look, as a degen, I still like the idea of auto compounding, even though it might not be great. Like what Sunny's saying, if everybody's selling half of their Osmo rewards every day automatically, but like, I still love the idea, and like we have staking, and then superfluid staking rumored to be in testing and so forth. That it seems like those are, and then there's also potentially superfluid staking V2. So there could be something where like, could CosmWasm help you like auto superfluid stake stuff or something?
Totally. I think I'd love to just add all those custom callbacks. So wherever they add a native code, to think of this basically a contract can do anything you can do, right? But it can hard code it. So if you say, I have a workflow, my workflow is to superfluid stake these tokens on these 5 different pools, pull out the rewards and redelegate them and stake them over here, right? And I have a workflow. And you have a contract that just knows that one workflow, right? And that's a workflow triggered every 12 hours, every day, whatever, right? I can write that workflow here, and any account can trigger, hey, run this workflow. And then you as owner can say, hey, stop that workflow, and I'm gonna pull my tokens out of it, or adjust it. But you can have that workflow basically just on chain. So you don't need your ledger, you don't need all the work, it's just on chain, it's secure.
Wow.
Right? It's like you can run, and you can have like permission account. So I'm thinking this idea came out before, like the Ethereum alarm clock, right? Just ran a smart contract at a certain time from some stupid random account, right? It has no, just like, has minimal tokens. Just call some smart contract.
Right. Well, you said something that I just want to repeat because it's, to me, it's like, it's brilliant. And it's brilliant in its simplicity. You said a smart contract can do anything you can do.
Yep.
I mean, no one has pitched smart contracts to me like that. that it's a way of automating stuff to save, that you would do anyway if you had the time or you could pay attention and not be totally ADHD or whatever the heck we all are. So,
totally. I mean, every point is if you have n parties or two parties or n parties that don't trust each other, it can be like the middleman that, everyone trusts it, so everyone can make the exchange in AMM because it's holding money for you and it follows rules.
Right.
It will follow. That's right. And the other way is, since you trust it, you can put something automating your stuff on there, and it's guaranteed to run exactly like it is. So I think it's basically, it can be a super powered. And when looking at DAOs and the multi-sig contracts, and I'm working on a lot of stuff early in governance stuff where you have basically like, do you want to have one account? You have 3 different devices that control the same account and have key recovery for it, right? And that could be a smart contract, basically automating your authentication. So I think all that like stuff that you can imagine doing, we just make a few smart contracts doing that, and people can instantiate them later on.
Nice.
They're with it.
I mean, there was something else that occurred to me that I was thinking of. It'll come back, but if anybody has, I feel like Sonny, Ethan was going to ask if you wanted to talk about the Isotonic. I know it's basically whatever in secret mode, but that could be cool.
Yeah, we can talk a little bit about it. I think I've talked a bit before about some of the stuff that we want to eventually do with like leverage. I think that like leverage is an important piece that decentralized exchanges need to offer, because this is like, if you look at centralized exchanges, this is being able to trade on leverage is like one of the most widely used features of centralized exchanges. So to do this, and like, not many dexes offer this, right? There's there's very few dexes. Currently, the way that you trade on leverage on dexes is that you have a lending protocol that exists somewhere, and you do this like sort of manual loop where you borrow, you put down your ETH as collateral, and then you borrow USD or DAI, and then you use it as to buy more ETH, and you like sort of do this manual loop. And there's been things that have been like made to automate this a little bit better, like Zapper and stuff, which will sort of take on a lot of that looping process for you. But this model of leverage is actually very different than sort of what's done on centralized exchanges. And I would argue that the model that's like done on, I'd argue that honestly, like FTX is sort of the gold standard when it comes to a lot of this kind of stuff, because they've just like really optimized their engine and stuff in a lot of ways. Anyway, so a lot of the leverage stuff that we're building, we actually have this like very unique view on how leverage should work, or at least one way it can work, and we don't have a cool name for it yet, so we'll come up with it. But the idea is we want a system that can actually allow you to have like constant 2x leverage at all possible prices. So if you think about how leverage works today, it's a little bit weird, because you open a leverage position. Let's say you open a 2x leverage position while Bitcoin is 50K. If Bitcoin goes up in value, your leverage position is actually decreasing, because your debt stayed the same, but your assets have increased in value. So your that ratio is actually decreasing, and your leverage is going down. While if Bitcoin is going down in value, your leverage is going up and up and up until it hits some cap, and you get liquidated. So our view was like, hey, how do we build something where you have a constant leverage position at all possible prices? And so, well, the trick is, what you need to do is be able to buy as Bitcoin goes up and sell as it goes down. And this means that you're never going to get liquidated, because what's happening is you're kind of, how FTX has these like staged liquidations where instead of getting liquidated all at once, you hit these like different checkpoints, and then you get liquidated sort of smaller amounts as you go down. This sort of is that, but like it's a continuous liquidation in a way, which means you're never going to get like super liquidated at any point. and it's sort of like a risk management there. And
I like
so,
this idea.
yeah, and what's actually kind of cool is, you know, if you look at if people have been following Squeeth in the going on in the Ethereum ecosystem, created by some of my really close friends. I'm actually staying in his house right now. It was created by like the Open team. So yeah, it has this like interesting payoff curve. And I think that this model actually has the same payoff curve. It is the spot version of Squeeth. Instead of using perps as Squeeth does, this would, uh, you know, use as actual spot trading to achieve spot trading and margin to achieve the same payoffs. Now, how do we do this? You can imagine that you build a system. Well, okay, you know what? I think we don't have to go into the details of that right now. I think we want to spend some time writing that up. But the key is that in order to make this mechanism work, we need a lending protocol that allows us to use LP shares as collateral. So in order to make this work, we can't, instead of using normal collateral as we're usually used to, if you use LP shares as collateral, you can achieve this interesting payoff system. And currently, there's no lending protocol that enables the use of LP shares as collateral. And so we were just yeah, so that's sort of why we reached out to the Confio team, and they were interested in sort of building a lending protocol somewhere. And we're like, hey, do you want to come help build it on Osmosis? Where and it's kind of going to be a little bit. It's supposed to be like a very bespoke lending protocol, where it's like the goal of it is really to achieve the purpose of like accomplishing this like leverage vision, but by putting the pieces in place there to do that. And then I think what will happen is it will inevitably like interact with sort of other lending protocols as well, because I think like within the lending protocol design space is actually a lot of like room for designs, different sorts of designs. And we'll see how like they interact with each other. But yeah, so that's sort of what Isotonic is. The name sort of comes from this you know uh, similar to how osmosis is like, we're like, oh, well, one isotonic is like, it's a physical AMM, right? Sorry, yeah, osmosis is like a physical AMM where like you have things going between this membrane, and as like the volumes change and blah blah blah. And so osmosis is about like how liquidity moves between like a membrane. That's, if you think about it, kind of like what an AMM kind of it does as well. And so what's cool with Isotonic is how like lending protocols like Compound usually work is like you either have like interest rates go higher and you have this like net inflow of like capital into the system, versus if lending rates go lower, you have like this net outflow. And then when it hits like this, the goal of something like Compound is to like adjust interest rates until you hit some like equilibrium in which like you hit a steady state, which you get into an isotonic state, which is in biology it means when there's like no net inflow or outflow from a cell. So yeah, that's sort of the origin story of Isotonic. Yeah, I don't know if Frey wants to add anything onto that.
Yeah. So that's, we were talking about doing lending protocol. I think is a missing piece. So basically, we got all inspired at really inspired at Lisbon at the conference, and there are a few things that are coming out of that. One is this talk I had before, the thinking I'm working on, which was IBC connections, like cross-chain DEX connections and cross-chain messaging, really getting that out there. It's beyond even interchain accounts, you can do some stuff, and maybe you can do this, but like really just get something that works really easy and smooth, so you can integrate Osmosis DEX to all the different chains, like as the DEX, right? And that was one thing we're thinking about doing IBC. Another one, we brought that in there, and we're talking, ended up a talk with Chengo brought me in there and talking with Sunny, and we're talking about actually integrating with them, right? That came up. And then we're talking about what else to do, and we're talking about different protocols. So, there's a lot of things out there. There's some stable coins, Kava's on there and UST, thinking more. There's AMMs, there's more than enough AMMs. Osmosis is winning that race, but there are like, 3 or 4 others out trying to compete it. People trying to build new AMMs. I'm like, well, what's missing? Lending protocols, like the next obvious major building block that's missing here. And a lot of things build upon an AMM and a lending protocol can let you do a lot, right? So we're thinking, hey, that's missing somewhere. Let's start designing it. Look at Compound, basically. Look at Aave, look at Compound. We could build something like that for Cosmos. I didn't even know Yumi existed at that time. Found out later. But so we started, researching that, and in discussions with going to Osmosis integration, it came up. Said, hey, it'd be awesome because we don't really have the product team. We're not really talking about launching DeFi products. We'd love to build this stuff because I think it's missing. And that's really my thing. I think this is a useful product. It's missing the market, and we can build it. And it's really cool with Osmosis to talk to Sunny because it's not just like, hey, we have the generic product idea. We could port it over from Ethereum, which you can do, right? And we can adjust it based on their V1 and V2 papers. You learn from it. That's great. It's understood terrain, but we can customize it for a very clear use case. So for me, one thing is just doing Compound, right? Like implement some of that Compound on the work with IBC tokens on Osmosis, but going beyond that for all those leverages, for automatically shorting things, for getting margin trading, for doing this, what he was talking about, just that auto balancing using LP shares, and then figure out how to integrate superfluid staking. So while you're staked your collateral tokens, for example, you have your LP share tokens on there. Those LP shares as collateral could be staked, and maybe they're also staked as they're superfluid staked both as staking tokens on native validators tokens and as LP tokens, and you're auto compounding all the rewards on them in the meantime while they're sitting as collateral, right? Like imagine all those things I was talking about, right? You can stick them together and this all just kind of one bundle. So then basically you're still earning your 100% APR on your collateral while you're using that to get margin trading. So I think really focusing on building all the components to look at exactly what Osmosis has, the strengths of it, and make some really, really cool product designs. So I think they have a lot of great ideas. Sunny and team, Josh also has cool ideas dumping on their dev. So, it's not just Sunny, it's the whole big team back there. So they're really cool ideas of how to build this thing out there, and talk about, margin, perpetual futures, how to do things, leveraging. That's great ideas. And let's just build those higher level things on it. So I see this as, okay, we implement a white paper, we get this out here, and now we customize it and configure it and do everything we can to make it just exactly what Osmosis needs.
Yeah, I think that was sort of like a big piece of it, which was, we were, I think one thing that we learned over going through the mechanism design of margin and stuff was that trading and lending protocols. So the reason we're working very closely sort of with the Confio team and sort of building this out as a co-joint project is just lending and trading are two parts of the same coin, and any good DEX, I think, needs to have both of these very tightly integrated. So, as I mentioned,
That's a good point.
something so once again, FTX is really sort of, in our opinion, the gold standard of trading engines, right? And I think the FTX trading engine works so well because of how well integrated their trading system is with their margining system. So, and that allows them to do things like very efficient liquidations, things like very efficient cross collateral where you can use your positions in one market as collateral on other markets. So the lending and trading engines on FTX have these very tight sort of bilateral dependencies, and so that's just sort of what we've learned over time and why we said hey, we need to find someone who we can work with that can build in this super tight knit integration into it is sort of a part of the Osmosis trading engine.
So then maybe we can rename FTX.
Yeah. What do you want to rename it to?
FXT.
FXT. All right. I'll put out a tweet for it.
Oh no, or I don't know. However you do fucked.
Yeah. So that's
all right.
it from our side.
XXD. Yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll be able to, we'll try to put out like a sort of a spec more on, not a spec, but more like a better explainer on our leverage design, that, how we do it, and achieve like, these interesting payoff curves. And then, and then we'll have some more information on the lending protocol side of things, pretty soon too.
So Sonny, when you were describing the isotonic versus osmotic or osmosis, definitions, I was looking it up, and apparently there's a word called isosmotic, which is actually, now that I say that, it's too hard to say. But apparently it means the same as isotonic, isosmotic. All right, guys, that's just science.
I think the only one, while we're like dealing with like naming stuff, the only one issue I realized was I think that the main lending protocol built on Chronos right now is actually called Tectonic, which is I just realized that yesterday, and so we'll see if that turns into like a confusing thing or not.
As long as we don't use the word squeeth, I'm totally fine.
Don't like the name Squeak?
It's fun to say, but it feels dirty.
Mm-hmm. So I actually have to jump off in 2 minutes. So let's go ahead and jump into like a couple. Let's get one or two audience questions if possible.
Absolutely, please. Questions.
So let's start with no excuses. Oh, but it looks like they're all connecting.
You called on me?
Welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome, no excuses.
Yeah. I've got a couple questions. First, it's great to hear that you're interested in building and lending, because for me, one of the main value proposition narratives of the IBC is both interchain and intrachain liquidity, and lending's one of the core infrastructure for that. So that's awesome to hear. I'd also like to see better bridge support and downside protection. And I'm particularly interested in downside protection because of the downside convexity that you see in LP pools, as well as it sounds like if you're doing constant leverage, you're going to mirror that downside convexity, whereas your assets go down, your losses are, you're basically selling low on that. So I was curious if you have any thoughts on either shorts, covered calls, puts, or anything else like that in terms of protecting the downside.
Yeah. So you have a very sort of similar. Yeah. In this leverage system, you're selling on the way down and then buying on the way up, and so one way of looking at it is saying that, hey, you're taking the worst possible trading position. You're sort of, normal LP shares are you're sort of short vol, while here you are, you're just taking a position, sort of a long position on the asset itself. And it's in a way, it is, well, what's interesting is it is actually a perfect hedge against your LP position. So what happens in an LP share is you're buying as the price goes up, you're selling, and as the price goes down, you're buying. While here, as the price goes up, you're buying, and as the price goes down, you're selling. But anyway, so to answer your question though, being able to build other systems on top in order to like leverage to hedge other ways. These are things that I think sort of are more up to like external teams to start building. I think like being able to build like covered calls and all these kind of things. These are this is why CosmWasm is being added, as well as just people can start building these things on other chains as well, and interacting with Osmosis over IBC. Yeah, the lending protocol, like I said, was this like very special situation where it needs to be sort of like tightly integrated with the main deck. But a lot of these like other structured products on top, I think that will come from like external developers taking the primitives that are put out by Osmosis and Isotonic to like package them together into into new products.
So why not just focus on doing the primitives of vault lending and the ability to short, and then people could build off of those primitives?
So that kind of is what Isotonic is. It is just the primitive of vault lending and borrowing. And then I guess the main big thing with Isotonic that allowing to borrow against the LP shares, because I think the best one is there's one on Solana called, I can't remember the name for some reason off the top of my head right now, but there's like the one that I've seen that's like quite good at that allows you to borrow, you use LP shares as collateral quite easily. But yeah, so that's sort of like the one big feature that we need, and it's not just normal LP shares. Like the way that we do our leverage design is this like very it requires the creation of a new type of AMM, which is sort of something we've been stressing a lot. Was that like AMMs are very underexplored right now, because people like sort of misunderstand or think of AMMs in a very constrained way, while AMMs have like this huge design space where they're just all they are is a system that an algorithm that takes an input and like has some desired ratio of assets, and you can use that concept to do things way bigger than just like the typical market making style AMMs that we're used to today. Yeah.
Hey, I just want to shout out Mike Barb for who's in the Ion working group. When we were brainstorming about Ion and what it could do. I know this is not directly related to Isotonic, but we were talking about this comp-like lending functions. And I just remember having, at some point, we were like, we could have a gyroscopic stable coin and have these baskets of assets. And one of the baskets, and Mike was like, we should absolutely be holding LP shares as as a collateral basket. And I don't know, I think it was a brilliant idea. And the notion of I know this is, again, I'm saying this was like some previous brainstorming discussion about what Ion could be from like 3 months ago, but of using LP shares as collateral. I just want to hat tip to Mike Barb for, he really he saw that, he understood it, and I commend him for it. Anyway, I wanted to say that.
All right, cool. Hey guys, I actually have to jump off right now because I just have another call that was scheduled back to back. But I don't know if Frey wants. Oh, I guess Frey also. Oh no, he's not. I don't know if anyone has any questions for Frey. Oh. You have to jump off too.
Give me 5 minutes, but I gotta get off real soon. I can take a question. Okay. One question.
Frey, Frey, if you could hang, we could take questions for 5 more minutes, and Sonny can bounce.
Cool.
Thank you, Sonny.
See you, man.
Thanks for being here, man. We'll catch you next week. Do we have any other questions from the audience? We've got Ethan Frey here. Myself, Dynamic. Dynamic, are you still there? Okay, he's there. He can't speak because he's recording something on his computer. Anybody have any other questions, especially if it's CosmWasm or Isotonic related? Since I'm not an active host, I don't know if I can see if people raise their hands. So we might or might not be able to.
Host left.
Yeah, but the Osmosis host is still there, and Dynamic is a co-host. So if somebody wants to be a speaker, I believe they can just request it or turn their mic on. Oh, wait, we have someone here from Axie Infinity. Do you have a question? I'm sorry, I can't read your name. It's a crypto quo. Do you have a question? Please unmute your mic if you do. And in the meantime, if anybody else has one, please request to speak. I think it's a button on the lower left-hand corner. Something I wanted to ask you something, Ethan, while we're waiting to see if we can get other questions on here. Have you talked with the? I think it's Jake who's working on the Ion protocol, the Ionize. Have you talked with them at all? Or I mean, obviously, CosmWasm would be involved in that in the governance, or
Jake actually in Lisbon, and he was, I would say, kind of instrumental in that thinking of really getting our hands into DeFi somehow, right? And
okay.
so we're trying to build our own protocols and launch our own DeFi and get involved in that whole story. We said, hey, you guys are builders. Why don't you build some DeFi and let someone else, run with it, basically, right? So,
right.
And we said, he actually told us to run it. And we said, hey, we don't want to run it. Someone else can run it as a product, but we're happy to build this stuff out, right? He's like, you guys should build DeFi. So that kind of thing, I was thinking, it's like, we'll be an engineering company. We can feel a staying engineering company, and we're happy to partner with other people to build stuff for them, right? And that's how we decided. Right? So, we're not really product guys. Don't have a huge marketing team. We don't want to get in the whole legal gray area, so we'll just build this stuff and we can build it really good. So he basically discussed with us and came out of that with our thinking, ended up at that level. So we talked with him a bit. I mean, he's a friend of Misang, I guess, for a while. So so he just knows like everyone in the Cosmos somehow. But that was really good. So we talked for a while there, and we were talking about the lending thing, and he came out the Ion thing. So we talked a bit with him. I haven't been following him the last few weeks, but we definitely have contact with him, and we're happy to work with him. Support it. I mentioned he asked if he's going to look at DAO or use CW Plus contracts, and so I'm not sure what was there.
Yeah, I saw the mention of working with DAO, which I'm starting to get out of my scope here because I have to learn more about that and what that I guess the partnership would be, and I have to learn more about what DAO does. But I'm not seeing other questions coming up. I'm gonna let me do a quick check on Telegram to see if because sometimes people forward me stuff, and I see some chats here. No. Okay, I think we've covered quite a bit. And if people have questions offline, you can tweet stuff at me, or I guess at Sunny, or at Osmosis.zone. And let me see if somebody else is typing something to me. Nope. Okay. Or hit up the Osmosis Support Lab if you have support questions that we could possibly address or get Sunny to speak to next week. And thank you so much, Ethan. It's been really great to finally have you on here with your Rage Tweet app.
Definitely.
And I look forward to talking more with you and seeing the CosmWasm integration grow and become a part of Osmosis. It's awesome.
For sure. Happy to be here soon when we ship our stuff, get it on live, and uploading some apps. I'd love to come back again.
Awesome. Okay, man. Until next time. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll be back next week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on @Osmosis.zone on Twitter. And if you have questions, please send them to us and any of us beforehand. That way we can also field the text questions. Okay, thank you. Osmosis out.